friends, and welcome to episode 21 of the Woldenburn podcast. My name is Emily, and I am so happy that you are here today to talk about some knitting and some sewing, books, and some things that I've been watching recently. It is a lovely summery day. We've had a couple of beautiful days of weather where it's been a bit cooler than the heat wave that we've been having in Tennessee, where I live with my husband Micah, and we are currently expecting our first baby in a couple months. It's sneaking up here really quickly, which is exciting. Today I am going to try and keep things a little bit on the shorter side for a podcast. I know that I have been making episodes that are around 50 minutes to an hour, but I'm going to try and keep it a little bit shorter today. We are actually going on vacation over the weekend to celebrate my husband's mom's birthday. And I realized that I needed to, if I wanted to get a podcast up this week, I needed to hurry up and get it filmed and edited and all scheduled and ready to go. We are leaving on Friday. It's currently Wednesday. And so I'm going to just try and keep things a little bit shorter this week. But I do have some really fun and exciting knitting projects to share with you and some fun sewing projects. I'm so happy with the sewing project that I have to share with you today, and the knitting project. Both of them I'm very excited about. They're finished objects. But before I get too rambly or anything, let's just go ahead and dive right into some knitting. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is a finished object, and I gushed all about this last week or last podcast episode, and it is done now, and it is my crescendo summer top, which is a pattern that I have test knit for Sophie of the Knit Pearl Girl, and it's this beautiful summer blouse with this gorgeous lace detailing on the yoke, which you can see so much better now that it's blocked and off the needles. And it's just this lovely summery top. It's got short sleeves, sewn down hems. It has an I-cord bind off at the neck, which I think is just beautiful. I definitely did not have the most tidy of clothes, or seaming here at the back, but it's at the back neckline. Nobody's ever going to pay attention to it. And I am just, I'm so happy with it. It looks so good. It just got done blocking, and I'm going to need to get some finished garment pictures of it and get them popped up on Ravelry and my blog. But yeah, I am super, super happy with it. This pattern is designed to be knit out of a fingering weight cotton yarn, which I don't currently have any of that, and I don't have an easy way to access a fingering weight cotton yarn, so I just use some yarn from my stash, which is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and it is on, it's my hand-dyed yarn. That's what I was meaning to say. And yeah, it's such a lovely pattern. I had so much fun knitting it. The yoke just zipped by so quickly. And then I did make it a little bit cropped. I tend to wear a lot of dresses or higher waisted skirts, and also right now I'm currently over 7 months pregnant, so I didn't want anything super duper long. So it did not take very long to finish off the body, and yeah, and then the sleeves were just little short sleeves, so they were super quick to knit, which was amazing. Overall, I'm just so pleased with how it came out. It looks so, so good, and I'm thrilled to have this yarn out of my stash and in a finished garment. If you watched my last podcast episode, I think it was in the last one, I talked about how I've been wanting to get this yarn out of my stash for a very long time, and it's just kind of been, I've tried to make something with it a couple of different times, and so I'm just so happy to have a finished object. So for this, I made the size E, which is the 5th size, I believe, if I remember correctly, and yeah, I used a US size 5 needle, which I believe was 1 needle size up from what was recommended in the pattern. And the reason for that is that my yarn was just a little bit thinner than the yarn that was called for, so in order to get gauge, I needed to go up a needle size. What else do I want to say about it? Oh, goodness me. I absolutely love the sewn hem bind off, but goodness gracious me, it took so long to do it. I think it took me 3 or 4 days to work on this and to get it done because it just, oh, it was a slog. I love how it looks and I will absolutely be using the technique again, but it was not fun trying to do it. Each stitch has to be worked. You do like 4 different steps per stitch, and there were over 200 stitches for the hem, so it took ages. And you have to have this super long tail so that you can get it all the way around the hem at the bottom. And so you're spending so much time like trying to make sure your yarn doesn't tangle or knot up or anything weird, and but it looks amazing and it was totally worth it. It was just a pain. But yeah, so I am very, very pleased, if you cannot tell, with this, and I am hoping to get some pictures soon, probably not until after we get back from our little vacation. It's just a long weekend away. I think it's just like 3 days or something. So probably not till we get back from that, and then I will most likely not be wearing this much until it starts cooling down in probably September, October timeframe, just because it is made from a wool yarn and it is very hot and humid in Tennessee. I don't think that I would be able to stand wearing it very much during the summer, the super hot summer months, which is a bit of a shame because I do think it's a beautiful blouse and I would love to see if I can get my hands on some fingering weight cotton yarn so that I could make a summer version, because I think it would be so wearable. To be fair, right now while I'm pregnant, I have had a lot of acid reflux and it has made it so that I can't really wear skirts or anything that has any sort of elastic right underneath the bust. So it's not the most wearable thing for me right now, but again, baby's due in a couple of months, and so I think I will get loads of wear out of it, especially because it's just basically a top, and so separates like tops and skirts are great for breastfeeding, which I'm planning to do, so I'm really anticipating being able to get a lot of wear out of it. So that's the only finished object that I have to share with you, but I do have a couple of other projects. The first one that I'm going to talk about is a little bit of a step backwards. I believe it was my last podcast episode where I was talking about I'm using my Drops Fable yarn to knit a pair of toe-up socks for my husband. Now, if you watched the last episode, you might be like, that's not much further from when the last time you showed it. And you would be correct. However, it was a lot further. I was working on it, and I gotten about to where I wanted to start doing the heel, and a lovely commenter on my last episode left a recommendation for finding a pattern for a toe-up sock with a heel flap and gusset, basically, or a gusset style heel, which is what I wanted. She recommended Wendy D. Johnson's website, which I looked up today, and it's amazing. It has exactly the pattern that or type of pattern that I was looking for a free pattern to do a toe-up sock. So I'd completely worked the heel and part of the leg, and then I was looking at it and I was like, that foot looks a little small. And as I'm sure you've guessed, it was quite a bit too small, so I ended up having to completely rip out the heel and go back quite a ways, but it's fine. I don't mind socks knit up so quickly. So I did have to kind of backtrack a little bit for that. But I would really, really recommend check out Wendy G. Johnson's website. It looks like she is planning to close down her blog due to the increase in cost in website hosting. And so she has a ton of free patterns for toe-up socks and such. And so if you're interested in something like that, I would recommend you go and check it out, because she wrote a blog post basically saying if you want to get the free patterns, download them now, because I'm about to get rid of my website, basically, because she's just not using it. So thank you very much to the kind commenter who left that behind, or left that comment. That was so helpful and exactly what I needed. I typically work my socks cuff down, and so it's a definite change for me to try and do some toe-up socks, and I really want to develop just a basic standard toe-up sock recipe, because I have my standard cuff down one, but toe-up is just a little backwards from what I'm used to. So it was very, very helpful, and I would definitely leave a link down below for that. I feel like I'm talking very quickly, which I very possibly might be. I have not talked to anybody today, so this is the first time I'm talking, so. The next project that I am working on, I'm actually getting quite close to finishing, and I'm very excited about that. I would love to have these off my needles. I'm currently working on the second of my freckle socks. And I'm working on the foot of the sock, and I have just a few more rows that I need to work, and then I can start the toe. And I went ahead and grabbed my completed one so I could show you an actual sock, show you what it looks like. I will need to block these once they're both done, because this picot cuff is kind of wonky. It just needs a good blocking. But this is what the finished sock looks like. And this is a pattern by Sarah Opie. And I got to test knit this earlier this year. And I absolutely loved it. I finished the first sock very quickly. And plenty of time for the test knit, which was all that was required for the test knit. But yeah, the second one has just been languishing. I've mentioned it before. I got distracted. I was making my husband some socks. And so I just kind of, it got put to the side, and I'm really trying now to get it done, because I would love to have these off the needles. I think it's a lovely pattern. It's not a lot, it's slower than doing just a standard vanilla sock. And so I think that's kind of what's making it take a little bit longer, is just because I'm used to being able to just zip through socks. And so it feels like this one is just kind of chugging its slow merry way along and taking a bit. But I really enjoy it, and I'm really looking forward to having the sock done. And I do think I would like to make another pair of the freckle socks. I think it's just a really fun stitch pattern. And I love the picot cuff. I'm definitely going to try that again on other socks. The one thing is, though, that with this sock pattern, it calls for a short row heel. So this dimension from the bottom of the heel to the top of the cuff ended up being a lot shorter than I expected, because I just did my standard for, I do short socks for myself. I don't really wear longer socks. And so I just did my standard like 8 or 10 rows of leg portion, and then I did my short row heel, and I was like, ooh, it's really short. It works, but next time I would definitely need to do it longer, because not only is the heel shorter, the picot cuff is shorter than my typical ribbing that I do, and so I just probably should have done like 15 to 20 rows of the leg rather than, I think I did 8, and I should have done probably about 15. But yeah, it still works, it still fits, it's still lovely. I don't have to rip the whole socks all back out, which I wouldn't anyway. I would just give them to somebody else. But yeah, so I'm working on those, and I'm hoping to get them done really soon here. I actually need to figure out what knitting projects I'm going to take with me on vacation, because yeah, I'm a knitter. You have to have vacation knits. And then the last project that I'm going to talk about is a new cast on. It's another test knit. I've actually been kind of in the mood for more test knits again, which is kind of funny. I feel like I go back and forth. I definitely burnt myself out one year with doing test knits. I just basically signed up for every test knit that came my way. I think I ended up having to knit something like 4 shawls in like a month because I'm insane, and I signed up for too many test knits, and they were not like small shawls either. Some of them were quite large. I think one of them had brioche in it, and yeah, I basically in one year did so many test knits that I burnt myself out, and so it's taken like 4 years before I'm now like, okay, I can sign up for a couple test knits here and there. And I feel like I also have a better idea for my knitting speed, if you will. And so then I'm not having to like force myself to work on test knits to just stick with the deadlines. But this is one that I very, very much was wanting to test knit, and I was thrilled that I was able to. It is not looking like much right now. This is a pattern I'm test knitting for Hannah Graham of Hannah G Knits. It's a podcast here on YouTube, and I will definitely link that down below. I absolutely love it. She just started podcasting, which was how I found her. YouTube randomly suggested it, and I watched her episode, and she was talking about her sweater, and it just so happened that I'd seen I had seen her patterns on Ravelry previously when I was looking for sweater patterns to knit for the baby. And she was talking about how she was getting this sweater pattern ready for pattern testing. And I was just like, oh, perfect timing. So I am on the yoke portion of this sweater, and it, like I said, it's not looking like much. But I'm really, really enjoying knitting on it. I just started it this week. I was supposed to start it, well, the test knit started at the beginning of June, I believe it was, but I was working on my summer crescendo top, and I knew that I would have plenty of time to knit this. It's just a little baby sweater, and Hannah was very generous with her test knitting deadline, and so I was just like, yeah, I'll have plenty of time, and I wanted to get that one done because that's a fingering weight yarn. It's a adult size sweater. This is sport weight yarn in a baby size sweater, so I knew it was going to go much quicker, which it is. It is super simple. It's this, the pattern is called Ollie's Classic Crew, and it's just this beautiful, simple sweatshirt type of a sweater, and it looks so cute. I don't know if she has pictures up on Ravelry or anything, but I will, like I said, link her podcast, and she talks about the sweater in her podcast, so I highly recommend checking it out so you can get a look at what it's going to look like. But yeah, it has this beautiful like garter ridges on just the front and the back, and then the sleeves are left stockinette. It's a raglan design, and this one again has all of the sewn down hems, so that's coming in my future. But thankfully this is a baby sweater, so there will not be 200 plus stitches that I have to stitch down. But I'm absolutely loving this. This is the first thing that I will have knit for the baby, which is really sweet and exciting, which I'm so happy about. There's a number of different things that I want to knit for the baby that I need to get a wiggle on if I want to get any of it done before he gets here. But the yarn that I'm using is the Pearl Soho Good Wool. Here's what the cake looks like. And this is in Teal Twilight. And I love how it's almost like a heathered light blue and gray blue. It's just gorgeous. I love this color. And I'm really happy because I was able to buy enough of it so that I can make myself a matching sweater, which is going to be brilliant. It'll be very, very cute. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to work on it some more today. It's so special. It's kind of weird that it's like I'm making something for my baby. I was just telling Micah last night that it's still kind of surreal to me that we're gonna have a baby in a couple of months. Like, it just doesn't feel quite real, even though I'm definitely feeling pregnant at this point. And the third trimester energy drops they're crashing, like goodness. Lack of sleep and all of that. Whew. But it just still feels so surreal that we're gonna have a baby. I've wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and have children my entire life, and so it just feels so surreal that I'm at that stage of my life now, and it's just very special to be working on a project for my baby. There's a couple of different projects that I want to work on. Maybe I'll do another knit and chat video on patterns that I want to make for the baby. We'll see. I'm honestly not planning to do too many actual garments that are like baby sized. I think that it'll be a lot more fun to do more like when he's a toddler, a little bit older, like maybe when he starts walking, like 9 to 12 months being like the size range I'm going for future ones. This one's definitely like a baby sized one. But I'm not going to worry too much about trying to make a bunch of really tiny baby knits, just because babies grow so fast and they'll grow out of something from 1 week to the next. And so I thought, especially since with this being my first baby and I don't know exactly how, I have a lot of siblings. I'm very, very familiar with taking care of babies. Like, I've done it my whole life. I basically, I'll tell people, I have done everything except for actually have the baby at this point. Like, I know how to do things with baby. I know a lot about babies. I know a lot about child rearing. Like, I already know how to do all of that stuff. But it's always different when it's your baby and each baby is individual. And so I'm hoping, have experience with taking care of kids, that I will still have plenty of knitting time. But I just don't know. And so I realized, I was like, let's make it easy on yourself and don't stress too much about trying to make a ton of baby knits for your first baby. Like, first pregnancy, first baby, like all of that, like, give yourself some space. Give yourself a break, like, work on whatever it is you want to work on and don't feel guilty about not making a ton of baby things. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, that was a little bit of a sidetrack. That is all of the knitting that I have to talk about today. Like I said, as I am trying to keep this podcast episode a little bit shorter this week, just make editing a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and skip the knitting inspiration segment of the podcast and we're going to just jump right into some sewing. So, I have a finished object to show you, and I'm really proud of this one. I just, it makes me so happy. I have made my husband a button-up shirt, and it turned out perfectly. I got really scared about halfway through that I had potentially completely screwed it up and been a little bit too arrogant in my pattern adjustments prior to having ever made the pattern before. But I didn't. I didn't completely screw it up. So let me actually grab the pattern here. So the pattern that I used is McCall's 6044, and I did view A right there, which is just a basic short-sleeved men's button-up shirt. I did the size medium. Yeah, I did size medium. And I used a stretch shirting that I got from Joann Fabrics. Yeah, I feel like that's all of the random bits and bobs of information. And I love it. It turned out so well, and it fits my husband perfectly. He wore it, and I was just like, in my head. I know it feels a little weird to like brag on yourself sometimes, but I'm just so satisfied with the pattern because it looks like something that we would have bought for him at the store, and that just makes me so proud of it and so happy. Like, he wore it, and I was just like, you're wearing something I made you. You are adorable. In a very attractive, manly way. But yeah, so it's, I really like it. I love the pattern. I'm definitely going to be making more shirts. The issue that I'm running into now is finding fabric that I like. I basically perused the entire Joann's website. I looked all over on fabric.com, and I just am having such a hard time finding shirting fabrics that I want to make him shirts out of, which is really annoying because I feel like I'm, I don't know, a little bit hyped up after having so successfully made a shirt, and I want to make more, but I just can't find fabric that I like, that I think would be a good fit for his wardrobe. But yeah, overall the pattern was excellent. The instructions are really good. The shirt, as I said, turned out really well. It's just a very, very basic men's button-up shirt. Let me try and think. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Oh, so when I was cutting out the pattern, or getting ready to cut out the pattern, I was looking at the pattern pieces for the shirt, for the body of the shirt, and I was just like, man, these seem ridiculously long. So I took out about an inch in length, and I realized that that was a little bit too much of length to take out. I probably should have started with like half of an inch. So I ended up having to do like the tiniest little hem on the shirt just because it was a little bit too much that I took out. But it worked. It's like the perfect length. Everything's fine. I held up to one of his other shirts. It's fine. I will probably go back in and add half an inch back in to the length just so that I don't have to make a teeny tiny little hem. But that was the one like snafu that I got a lot of the shirt done, and I was like, uh-oh. Have I completely mucked this up? But I didn't. It was okay. But it was a moment of panic there, and reminded me that I need to be a little bit less, I don't know, not arrogant, but maybe think a little bit more through pattern hacking a pattern, or is it pattern hacking? Or is it just pattern adjusting a pattern that I've never made before? But yeah, it turned out perfectly. That all worked out. I actually did buttonholes. For those of you that have been watching for a while, you know that I typically use snaps in all of my stuff, but for a men's button-up shirt, it kind of needs buttons, not snaps. So I ended up using my vintage sewing machine. The one that you can see right here is a Juki HZL F600, and it's one that my parents bought several years ago, and it was their sewing machine. I used it. I'm the only one in my family that really sews, and so they bought it because I was doing a ton of sewing, but it was their sewing machine. And then the other one that you can actually see, that case right back there, is the brand is white. It's a white sewing machine from the 1950s that I worked in a quilt shop a few years ago, and one of the lovely ladies there gave it to me. She had found it at Goodwill. She'd gotten it serviced, and it was like, it cost her like $30 or something, and she didn't need it because she had like 3 other sewing machines, and so she asked if I needed it. And at the time, I did not have the Juki sewing machine. My parents had it, and I had another, I don't remember what brand it was off the top of my head, but it was not a great sewing machine. It was like a more expensive, like a couple $100 for a sewing machine. I will say, one of the best budget sewing machines that I have ever used would be one of the Brother sewing machines, and I can't remember the numbers or whatever it is off the top of my head. I'll put a link down below if I can find it. It was really great. It's like a couple $100. It has like this adjustable speed on it. It has like automatic buttonholes. One of the best sewing machines that I've ever used, honestly, even though it was only $200. The Juki sewing machine is a very expensive sewing machine. It's like $1,000. It's very, very expensive, and it's very nice. But it's having a little bit of issues on a few different things, and buttonholes is one of them. And so I just pulled out my 1950 sewing machine, which I've sewed so much stuff on. It is an excellent sewing machine. It's all mechanical. There's like no computer parts to it, so it does its thing, and it works, and things don't break. It's got the little mechanical knobs, so you have to do the actual, it's called a 3-step or 4-step buttonhole. We actually have to like select the different stitch portion that you're supposed to be doing, but it's an excellent little sewing machine. I sewed my wedding dress on it. It's amazing. At some point I would like to get the Juki sewing machine serviced, but haven't gotten there yet. So that is the first finished object, and for some of you, you might have noticed that I am actually wearing another finished object. This is the Sorrel dress by Jennifer Lauren Handmade, and it's actually one that has been 90% done for like 2 or 3 weeks at this point. And I got done with Micah's shirt, and I was just feeling that like drive to work on stuff, and so I finally got these snaps put into it and a hem done. I'm gonna stand up and show you. I'm not 100% happy with this dress. So here we go. This is what it looks like. It's got this lovely collar here, which I actually have pinned down with sewing pins just to help train the collar to go there. I put inseam pockets in it. There we go, yep. So, let's talk about this one a little bit. So this dress pattern, like I said, is the sorrel dress, and it's just kind of a really simple shirt dress, and I really like the pattern. I made some modifications to it to make it pregnancy friendly, and those modifications I think have made it a little less flattering than I would like, especially because I've left the front darts out of the bodice. So I'm gonna stand up here. So there's no darts here. So it's very shapeless, which it works for the bump, but I think it would look so much better if it had just some sort of something here. But the problem is that that spot right there is exactly where I cannot have anything tight because it makes my acid reflux so uncomfortable. So I think it's worked out for the best for pregnancy wear. I think once I'm done being pregnant, that I will go back in and I'm not sure, either add some elastic or modify it a little bit to make it just a little more flattering, because it's, I was a little disappointed when I put it on for the first time, and I took it off and I finished it up and hung it in the closet, and then I was looking at it in my closet today and I was like, you have to wear it. You have to wear it at least a couple of times so you can get a feel for it, so you can figure it out. Like, I highly recommend that. If you finish something and you're just like, this might have been a fail, wear it. Just wear it a couple of times, then you will know for sure. Either you will be like, oh, okay, it's not that bad, I just need to tweak this little thing, or you'll wear it and be like, actually, it's not as bad as I thought, I love it. Or you'll be like, I was correct, this is a total flop, I need to do something else with it. But just wear it at least once or twice and just kind of get a feel for it, because a lot of times, I was telling my husband this with the shirt, because he was talking about how the fabric felt a bit stiffer than the shirts that he was used to, and I was like, you have to wear it. You have to give it some time. It kind of molds to your body, it adapts to your body, body heat, whatever it is. I don't know what the magic is, but you have to wear it. You have to wear it a couple of times, let it kind of, oh, what's the word? It's like when you have to wear brand new shoes to break them in. That's what it is. You have to break in your garments. You have to break in your handmade things. And so that's what I pulled it out of the closet and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wear it. We're gonna see how I like it. And I do like it. It's really comfortable. It's just not the most flattering dress. But I think that that's fine. I also realized that I could potentially just use like a piece of ribbon as like a belt and just put a little bit of shaping right underneath the bust, and that might help without making it too tight in that sensitive area. Yeah, I have to play around with I need to play around with it a little bit. But I do know that I will most likely not be making any more of these dresses for pregnancy wear. I really like the dress. It's a very simple sort of shirt dress style, and I think it's a lovely pattern, and I would definitely make another version, but for not pregnant Emily. But yeah, so this is the other sewing project. Let me think, is there anything else? Yes, I almost forgot. So I'm not putting in a knitting inspiration segment in here, but this is kind of a knitting / sewing inspiration segment. I just started watching the podcast by Allison Schmidt on YouTube. I'll link it down below. And she has just a couple podcast episodes up, and I was watching her second one last night, I think. And right at the end of the episode, she was talking about a little bit of sewing that she'd been doing, and she mentioned this thing called a nap dress. And I was like, what on earth is a nap dress? So I googled it per her instructions, and it brought up this beautiful like sheared top not not sheer as in see-through, but sheared, S-H-I-R-R-E-D, top dress with like ruffles and kind of a ruffled strap. I'll see if I can pop up a picture here. And I love it. It is so beautiful. I can't believe I haven't heard of this before. Although, to be fair, I do not stay up with any sort of modern things, buzzwords, like, no. I live under a rock. I'm a hermit, and I like it that way for the most part. But this dress craze thing, it's so beautiful, and I think that it would be, one, really easy to make, and two, really, really maternity friendly, while also still being very comfortable. So I'm definitely gonna give this a shot. I worked out, here's my rectangle sketches. I think I've worked out the measurements that I would need to do this. I'm going to put a couple links down below. There's a blog post tutorial and there's a video tutorial that I found by two separate people on how to make this dress style. And yeah, I'm really excited to give it a shot. Let me grab the fabric. So this is the fabric I'm thinking about using. I have 4 yards of this, and so I have enough that if I cut out the bodice of it and get to work on it and it completely flops, I should still have plenty of fabric to make a dress. And this is some fabric from Joann's, and I love it. And I think it would make a very beautiful, like, tiered, sheared dress. But yeah, so I highly recommend that you go and check out Allison's podcast. Like I said, she's only got a couple of episodes up, but she has a few other videos that I haven't watched yet. And I'm very excited to get started on that. I was thinking about starting on it today, but again, not sleeping is really, really not great for energy levels. And I did not sleep very well last night, so my energy levels are kind of low. I just kind of want to sit and knit and not do too much else. So that's what I'm doing. I'm giving my body a break. We've had a very, very busy last week and a half. We've been out and doing stuff. We actually went to my husband had to do a work thing for a couple of hours at a fair, and so I went with him and I just kind of walked around the fair and hung out while he was working. So it was just a lot of walking and being up and about and whatnot. So today I'm just kind of like, ugh. So I'm just gonna like chill and knit, but I've figured out my measurements. Maybe I'll like cut out the fabric today. I'm not sure, but I really, really, really want to give this a shot because I think that it would be a very, very, very comfortable style of dress to wear for maternity wear. And I think I've mentioned it in my podcast before, but I'm in the phase of pregnancy where, if you're not familiar, for the last about 8 weeks or the last couple of months of pregnancy, the baby puts on about a half a pound of weight each week. So that means that my stomach is just popping. So a bunch of the dresses that I have been able to wear, I no longer can wear. So right now, I have I think about 5 dresses, counting this one, that I can comfortably wear. And that's just not enough because I have a feeling at least 1 or 2 of those I'm not going to be able to wear soon. So, and I can't wear skirts because it hits in that one spot. So all of my skirts I can't wear. So all of my skirts and shirts, or skirts and tops, cannot wear those. So I basically have about 5 things that I can wear. And that's just not enough variety and option for me. So I'm really, really hoping that those dresses, that dress works out. Because if it does, I've got a couple other pieces of fabric. I will definitely make more. Like, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. So that brings us to the last segment of the podcast that I'm going to be sharing with you today, which is books and more. And this is where I talk about books that I've been reading, or movies, or TV shows, or YouTube channels that I've been really enjoying. And I actually have a book to talk to you about. I've felt a little bit of a resurgence, if you will, of wanting to read. I don't even remember exactly how I found out about this book. I think I was looking on YouTube and I found a video, and somehow or the other, some bunny trail, I found this book. So it's hiding. It is this book. A Lady's Guide to Etiquette and Murder by Diane Freeman. And I picked it up from the library. This is actually part of a series. I think there's 2 more books in the series, maybe? And it's about Lady, not Lady, or, well, it is Lady, as Countess Frances Wynne, the American-born Countess of Harley. And it talks about her husband has died a year before this book starts. And she is, so she's a widow. Sorry, my train of thought it just left. It left the building. She is a widow, but her year of mourning is up. She didn't have the best of marriages, so honestly, she's not too sad that her husband is gone. He was kind of a womanizer and philanderer, man about the town sort of a thing. And so she has decided that she is going to rent a house on her own and live with her young daughter. And Frances is a very wealthy American girl that came over and married into the British peerage, which if you're not familiar with something that happened, I don't remember the time period exactly. I think it was like in the maybe late 1800s into the early 1900s. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it was like mid 1800s, where a lot of wealthy American families would send their daughters over to have the London season in the hopes that their daughters would marry into the British nobility. So counts, dukes, etc. So that's what she did. And so she goes and she rents this house, and then all these series of kind of unfortunate things start happening to her. And then one day, this man is found murdered in her back garden, and it was a fun story. It was very simple and not too stressful or drama-y. It said back here, where was it? A fantastic blend of history, mystery, and humor. I did not want to put it down. Perfect for fans of Agatha Christie and Georgette Heyer. And that was a quote that's on the back of it. And I feel like that's not far off. I would say Agatha Christie and Georgette Heyer are infinitely superior writers. But it's not wrong. It's kind of a fun sort of a mystery, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a pretty light, easy, fun sort of read. One of my favorite things that I really, really liked about this one was that Diane Freeman wrote Frances as she wasn't a weak woman character, but she also wasn't kind of the, how do I put this in such a way as to not offend anybody? I hate the macho, strong woman character, especially in like historical novels. I hate that. It is one of my pet peeves when it comes to reading fiction that has been written like nowadays, but is set in a historical time period, when they basically take a modern day woman and plunk her in historical fiction. I hate that. I hate that so much, where it just comes across as some woman trying to be a man, and I just cannot stand that. So I very much appreciated that in this one, Frances was not a helpless idiot, if you will, but she was also not like super macho and like, ooh, I'm gonna be super independent and do my own thing and I don't need anybody's help. I hate that attitude in general, like across the board. Everybody needs help, okay? Man or woman, it doesn't really matter. Everybody needs help. And so I really appreciated that in this book. I think that Diane Freeman did an excellent job of writing a good woman character, I guess you could say. Yeah, I really, really appreciated that. She was very feminine, she was very intelligent, and just a good character, but she also needed help. And I like that. I think she did a good job of balancing those. So I appreciated that. And I am definitely interested in reading at least the next one, see how that one goes, and then if it turns out good, I'll read the third one. But yeah, I recommend you check it out if you like historical romances and There was not a lot of romance in here. I shouldn't call it a historical romance. It was a historical mystery with a splash of romance in there. There is a romantic interest, but they don't end up together in the end. Like, it leaves it very open-ended for the rest of the season, or not season, for the rest of the series. That's the word I was looking for. So there is a gentleman in here. I don't remember if it mentions his name. George Hazelton, who is a very lovely gentleman, and like he's the romantic interest, if you will, but it's hinted that there is a potential in the future, and I appreciated that. That even though there was not like the swooning and falling into his arms sort of a thing, which I like that. I think there's a place for that in some books, or there's a place for books that have the swooning into the gentleman's arms thing, but I also appreciate books that don't have it in it. Hopefully I'm making sense and not completely offending and ostracizing everybody. Anyway, I recommend that book. I'm going to read the rest of the series. I might see if I can get the next couple of books on my Kindle so I can read them on the vacation, because that would be really fun. It would make a good vacation read, because like I said, they're very light-hearted, easy reads. So, what was I... Yes, the other thing that I was going to talk about is a movie that I actually just rewatched today. I just finished rewatching the adaptation of Emma, the movie, that was filmed, I believe, in 1995. It has Gwyneth Paltrow in it as Emma, and it is my all-time favorite adaptation of Emma. I absolutely love it. I will say, Emma is not one of my top favorite Jane Austen books. It's kind of in the middle. Somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where. It kind of moves up and down. I would say Northanger Abbey is my least favorite. Persuasion is hands down my favorite. I love Persuasion. It is so good. Amazing. I love that book so much. It's Persuasion, Sense and Sensibility, and then probably Pride and Prejudice, because that's pretty good. Everybody loves it for a reason. And then I almost feel like Mansfield Park and Emma kind of tie, and then Northanger Abbey is the bottom. But anyway, I love the Gwyneth Paltrow adaptation of Emma. I think that it is the best one that is out there. I know that this is kind of an unpopular opinion because the most recently released adaptation of Emma that was released in 2020, I believe, everybody has raved about it. I personally have not watched it. I don't intend to watch it. I've seen a couple of trailers of it and I've heard some people talk about it, and it really bothers me that they put in a couple of scenes. Some of you might be calling me a prude in your head, but that's okay. I completely own it. I am happy to be a prude. I dislike the fact that they've put in a clip where they have Mr. Knightley undressing just to get a higher rating or whatever it is. I don't know why they put those nudity scenes in there. I think that it just degrades the period drama. And then there's another clip, which I have seen, that clip where it shows Emma like pulling up her skirts in front of a fire to warm herself, and she's like not wearing undergarments or something. It's stupid, and I don't like it, and I think that it just kind of degrades the period drama and makes it subpar. And also, I just don't like the people that they cast for the main characters. I think Mr. Knightley looks nothing like I would imagine Mr. Knightley looking, and I don't really care for the lady that they picked for Emma. And to be honest, that is a big reason for that is because I love the Gwyneth Paltrow version so much. I think that she just does such a good job of portraying Emma as I have always pictured Emma, as kind of this trying to do things right but messing things up. Very elegant, very ladylike, just sweet and beautiful and foolish and just a human, like very, very human. And I just love the way that Gwyneth Paltrow portrayed her. I feel like a lot of times people can talk about Emma as like this strong, independent sort of a woman or whatever, and it's just never the vibe that I've gotten from it. I don't think that that's at all what Jane Austen was writing her as, and so I love that adaptation of Emma, the 1995 I think it is. Just crazy. That's such a long time ago now. Yeah, the Gwyneth Paltrow adaptation. So I just wanted to recommend that to you if you have not watched it yet and you love period dramas. go watch that one. It's excellent and I enjoy it so much. I feel like all the characters are just so well cast, and yeah, I think it's so good. But yeah, I think that's all that I have as far as books and more. Maybe I'll do a video at some point talking about my favorite period drama adaptations. That would be kind of fun. It would be really interesting to see how my opinions vary from like the standard, because another unpopular opinion, well, it's not really unpopular, that's not fair. I would say about 50-50 for the adaptations of Pride and Prejudice. There is the people that are solidly in the 2005 Pride and Prejudice adaptation with Keira Knightley, and there's about 50% of people that are solidly in the camp of the 1995 miniseries of Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth and Jennifer Isle. That's how I always pronounce it in my head. I don't think it's right, but you know. I like the miniseries much more than the movie, mostly because I feel like the miniseries is way more accurate when it comes to just the portrayal of the different characters, the costumes, everything about it. One of the things that it's a pet peeve of mine, drives me insane, is in modern adaptations of period dramas when they have the girls running around with their hair down all the time. No. That's not what would happen. That was considered, if you did that you were being a floozy, like that sort of a thing. And I feel like it's such a simple thing to get historically accurate. Like, it's not hard. Just put the hair up. I know, it looks beautiful and lovely to have these lovely girls in their beautiful dresses running in the field with their hair down and gorgeous. I get it. I know why they do it, but at the same time, no. Anyway, we are getting like way off topic here. So maybe I'll make a video about that if you're interested. If you have any favorite period drama adaptations, I would love to hear about them. I am a massive period drama fan. That's pretty much the main type of movie that I watch. I don't like super violent, crazy, like love triangle, drama-y, like angst. No, thank you. I love period drama adaptations of classic books. It's one of my favorite things. Those are the types of things I watch. If you also like those things and you have favorite adaptations, I would love to hear about it, because I am always happy to talk about period dramas and find more that I haven't discovered yet. Although, to be fair, I have watched a lot, so I've probably seen all of them. Anyway, we are getting way off topic here. Let's rein things back in. That's all that I have to talk about for books and more this week. That's all that I have to talk about craft-wise. Yeah, that's sewing, knitting. That's what I got. Cool. Thank you so much for watching this video and hanging out with me today. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't offend you, or anything like that. Everybody's opinions are valid. If you have opinions that are differing from mine, I will absolutely accept that. I am not here to tell you that you are wrong. I just like to kind of share my opinions on things, and sometimes I find other people that also share my opinions, and that's kind of nice. But yeah, like I said, we're going on vacation this weekend, so I'm hoping to get some nice relaxing time to just chill. I'm hoping that Mike and I can go and like sit in a coffee shop for a while, and I can work on some knitting. He can do whatever it is that he wants to do. But then we'll just kind of get some nice relaxing time, because as I mentioned, we've had just a very busy last couple of weeks. Busy for us. For other people it would probably be like nothing, but we've just been out of the house a lot, and it's just exhausting. As a die-hard hermetic introvert, going outside the house is just, it's so much work. So I'm very much looking forward to this vacation. I'm hoping that I get lots of time to just read and knit and just relax. Yeah. Because it's also almost about to be the 4th of July holiday here in the States, and the 4th of July, for whatever, I'm not sure why exactly, it's one of my favorite holidays. I don't know if it's because it's in summertime and there's fireworks and watermelon and pies. I don't know. it's just one of my favorite holidays, so I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping that we'll get to see some fireworks this year. That would be amazing. I love fireworks. But yeah, we don't have too much else planned. I'm just gonna knit and sew, and I will report back on the nap dress progress. And yeah, I have some socks that I'm hoping to get cast on, socks that I'm hoping to get finished. Yeah, just all the crafty, simple things. Anyway, it's time to wrap things up here. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for your support. If you're somebody that comes back every week to watch my next video, thank you for liking. If you would like to see more of my content and whatnot, feel free to subscribe. If not, I'm not offended. I don't mind. I'm glad that you were here today. But yeah, thank you, and I will see you very, very soon for the next one. Bye.